Hi guys, Steady Eddie here. Hope everything's well with all of you. Right now it's October the 26th. It's mid-afternoon. It's cloudy, humid, nice and warm, no rain. And I'm in Hanoi in Vietnam. Not for the first time. I came here about 15 years ago. But it's looking good now and it feels good to be back here. What's that? No. Okay. This lovely lady here. Oh. Okay, so it's Saturday afternoon here. There's plenty of life around. Plenty of, well, it's really buzzing. This is Vietnam's very, very lively capital city. So I'm going. What's that? It looks really beautiful. It looks really beautiful. What is it? What is it exactly? How much is that going to cost me if I eat it? And how much will it cost me?
50.
How much? 50. 50 for 10. 50 for 10. I'll tell you what. I'll take it up on them. Okay, 50 for 10. I can't resist you because you're such a nice lady. Okay, 50 for 10. Where am I going to go? Okay, bye-bye. Lovely ladies anyway. Hopefully these are as tasty as you are. 50 is about $2 US. I was probably stitched up there, but it just so happens that I haven't had any breakfast today, and I think that is exactly what I need right now. Okay? What's the matter? No, it's all right, mate. I don't need my shoes done. You do get hassled a little bit here in Hanoi. Donuts. Very, very, very tasty. Lovely stuff. No, they look very, very nice, but not for me. Not for me. I don't really buy souvenirs, but
later.
Yeah, have a nice day. Have a nice day. Okay, now there's a live band rehearsing very, very loudly around this lake. It's going to be a bit of a rock concert on there later, this evening, which you wouldn't mind seeing. So anyway, what was I talking about? Okay, now let me just say first of all that this here, I thought that this was the West Lake. It isn't. It's actually called something else. Apparently the West Lake is quite away from here. But it's a very, very nice lake. It's a lovely bridge over there. But you have to pay, you have to buy a ticket to go across that bridge. But anyway, I'm going to have a little walk around. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to talk about the last visit that I made to Hanoi, which was about 15 years ago. Okay, so my previous visit to Hanoi about 15 years ago was not my first visit to Vietnam. A couple of years earlier, I went to Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, Mekong Delta, Dalat, around that way. And my first visit to Ho Chi Minh just blew me away. I thought, what an amazing place. The culture, the people were the friendliest people I'd ever met. It was a real wow factor. It was a marvelous traveler's experience.
Yes.
Okay, so if you visit South Vietnam and think it is absolutely fantastic, then where have you got to go next? You've got to go to North Vietnam. So a couple of years later, I visited this place, Hanoi. I visited it. It was actually during Tet when I arrived there. I think it was in the month of February. So a lot of the stuff was closed. But I must admit, it was not the same. First impressions of Hanoi were not really that favourable. It's simply, the people, everything about the place was not as friendly as in Ho Chi Minh. Now, you can speculate the reasons for that. But I found that the North Vietnamese were simply not as friendly as the South Vietnamese. This was 15 years ago. Now I travelled a fair way down the country and I met other travellers, and I was actually surprised by how many Western travellers I met who found the people here to be very, very hostile. I heard that quite a lot. I couldn't really believe that. I mean, you know, people are people. Obviously, you know, the North Vietnamese, you know, have the history of being, well, you know, you go back to the Vietnam War, we don't really need to talk about any of that, you know what I mean? And I think some of these travellers who insisted that the North Vietnamese were an unfriendly bunch of people, I think some of those may have had their opinions influenced by watching too many Vietnam War movies. I don't need to talk any more about that. But it was true that, you know, the visit to Hanoi, at first, the Vietnamese people that I met here were not as friendly as what I met in Ho Chi Minh. They used to say, didn't they, that the further south you go in Vietnam, the further west you go, which means that obviously the southern Vietnamese are a lot more used to Westerners than these people up here. The live band are rehearsing again. They're probably playing a copyrighted tune. Well, you know, people are people, and the Vietnam War was a long time ago. Funnily enough, you know, obviously it's a long time ago, but people will insist on having these prejudices, these preconceived ideas. You still meet people to this day in the UK who say that they don't like the Germans. Oh, Jesus Christ, that war was a very, very long time ago. But yeah, you know, you mention Germans to some people and Christ almighty, they'll say they're arrogant, they're this, that and the other. Well, I travelled through Germany a few years ago, and I thought it was one of the most underrated travel destinations anywhere. And I found the German people to be really, really hospitable. You know, I openly admit I like Germans. Well, I'm hoping by the end of this journey to say that I like North Vietnamese people. I've come walking around here this lake because it was nice and quiet yesterday. We want a bit of peace, and there's all kinds of distractions. There seems to be festivals and all kinds of things, and the live band are rehearsing over there, probably playing copyrighted music. There's all kinds of things going on. Okay, so basically I'm in Vietnam for 2 weeks now. I have a 2-week return ticket, you know, from Hanoi. So the plan was to go elsewhere in Vietnam during that 2 weeks. Let me just tell you something, by the way, about visas. You can now get a 2-week, that's a 14-day visa on arrival at Vietnam, without bothering, to have to pay for one. You know, I think you can get a monthly visa, but sometimes it's not always that easy to get hold of. But you can get a visa on arrival now, 14 days, no problem. But the fact is, though, be careful about that one, because I arrived here on the Thursday and I'm leaving 2 weeks later on the Thursday, which seems like 2 weeks, 14 days. It isn't, it's actually 15 days, because they do count the day that you arrive and the day that you leave as 2 separate days. So it's actually counted as 15 days. But I worried a bit about it, but they were okay at the airport, so that's fine. But really, you're better leaving a day early just to be on the safe side. So enough of that. Let me just get a shot of this lake around here. So what is the plan while I'm here in Vietnam for a couple of weeks? Well, the plan was obviously to start and finish in Hanoi, but to go elsewhere, maybe a few other places. The fact is that Vietnam is not really that easy to travel through. It's not an easy country. You're talking some very, very long distances from Hanoi to Hue or Hoi An, wherever. You look on the map and it doesn't look like that longer distance, but to get there you're either talking about an internal flight or a very, very long and not recommended overnight bus journey, or possibly a train journey. It's not really that easy to travel through in Vietnam. About those overnight bus journeys, I've done quite a few of them in the past. An overnight bus journey from, say, Hanoi to Hue, I seem to recall doing that journey. It was full of stops and starts, and the bus broke down, and it was not a good journey at all. It was scheduled for something like 11 hours. It actually took something like 17 hours. And really, when you look on the map from Hanoi to Hue, it's not really that great a distance. If you want to go from Hoi An to Nha Trang, it doesn't look like a big distance on the map, but that also involves an overnight bus. And let me tell you something. The transport in Vietnam, well, it's not always very good. By overnight bus, it is worth inquiring, making sure about the quality of those overnight buses, because some of them are like death traps. I got on once from an overnight one from Hoi An to Nha Trang, which went hours longer than what it should have done, but that wasn't the problem. Jesus, as soon as I got on that bus, it was horrendous. They were cramming as many Vietnamese people as they possibly can do on these buses. They had sleeping compartments either side of the bus, but also sleeping compartments in the middle of the bus. Now, come on, that meant you've got narrow little passageways that you have to sleep. It was like a death trap. I got very, very claustrophobic. I was told that my seat was at the back of the bus. I got on the bus, seen the situation, squeezed a few paces down these alleyways, and Christ, I thought, no chance. I will suffer from claustrophobia if I attempt to go to that back of the bus. Either give me a seat close to the front or I'm getting off. And they managed to give me a bunk compartment where I was lying on top of the bunk, the upper level bunk, lying on my back, facing the ceiling of the bus, which seemed to be about 3 inches away from my nose. Oh my God, that is a horrendous, horrendous journey. If you're going to travel through Vietnam by bus, make sure you know exactly what you're in for. And if the travel company says VIP buses, yeah, just make damn sure they are. So I'm reluctant to do bus journeys through Vietnam again. Train journeys, I've never actually done a train journey through Vietnam. Well, let me tell you something. There was once a train, I mean, it may still be operating now. There was a train that used to go from Hanoi all the way down to Ho Chi Minh. And I heard terrible, terrible reviews of it, absolutely appalling. Apparently this train it took 32 hours. You would have to be the most dedicated traveller to really put up with that. And what I heard from other travellers, that it was so uncomfortable. The seats were only as small Vietnamese people could possibly get comfortable in them. And I heard people saying it was the worst 32 hours of their life. So that's, obviously trains. I've never actually been on a train in Vietnam, but I certainly wouldn't want to go on that one. You like this picture, Gabba? There you go. See a lovely girl there? I think she's trying to learn English. She's a very, very nice young lady there.
Nice.
Yes. Okay. Lovely young girl. Okay. That young lady came and sat down next to me, asked me, usual questions in my English. I think she's trying to learn it. She's probably a student. She just wanted. I think they like talking to people who speak English, basically, because they want to learn English. I think it's all very, very innocent stuff. Anyway, but I'm trying to avoid all this loud music in the background. So anyway, where was I? Okay, well, just a little quick shot around the lake here. The fact is, it's really easy if you're in Thailand and you want to come to Vietnam. It's very, very easy nowadays. The flights from Bangkok to Vietnamese cities, reasonably priced with Air Asia. And when you get here, if you're only prepared to stay for 14 days, well, that's fine. You don't need a visa anymore. That's really good. But actually traveling around Vietnam, that's the more difficult bit, really, because you are talking long journeys. The buses I wouldn't recommend. The trains I've no personal experience of. If you're here for a limited time, a couple of weeks, obviously flying, internal flights, that is the best option. But those flights are not always reliable. I've actually been on, I think it's 3 internal flights in Vietnam, and at least 2 of them were delayed by hours. So they're not always that reliable, but like I say, if you're here for a couple of weeks, flying will be the best option, because obviously you're under the time limit. Which brings me to what I'll be doing for the 2 weeks that I'm here in Vietnam. I've decided that I'm actually going to stay in Hanoi, because traveling, you know, my return ticket is from Hanoi, so to go from Hanoi to somewhere else and back again, I'm going to be a little bit pushed, really. You know, it's not an easy country to travel around, and I don't want to be getting flights everywhere. And also those flights, those internal flights, they always seem to be at odd times. I don't really like the idea of leaving the hotel room at 3 AM in the morning. You know, it's not good. So I'm actually going to be staying in Hanoi for 2 weeks, because there's plenty going on in this town. You know, there's a lot of things to do, you know, in the surrounding areas. So, you know, so yeah, I can occupy myself for 2 weeks here. Now, I know 2 weeks in this city might seem quite a long time, but I'm traveling for many, many months. So really, I don't want to be going at breakneck speed. I don't want to be doing a couple of days in this city, catch a flight, a couple more days in another city. I know you see these YouTube vloggers who do this sort of thing, but they tend to be young and trendy people. Well, just look at me. I'm clearly not young and trendy. So really, well, I don't know. I'm not getting any younger, am I? I'm no spring chicken. I think it's only wise for me to start traveling at a more pedestrian pace. You know, relax, take a few days to just lounge around a hotel room, you know, because in the olden days I could, you know, see a variety of places in a very, very short space of time, but I simply don't want to be doing that anymore. It's about relaxation as much as anything else. So I think I'll be travelling at a pedestrian pace. That's a good phrase, that, isn't it? Travelling at a pedestrian pace. I like that. I think that's going to suit me. There's also something else to consider as well. In the past, when I've just travelled, spent a few days in each particular city before moving on, you never really get to know that particular city. You know, I've seen so many different Vietnamese towns and cities, but I've always, you know, missed a lot of the things that are going on there because I've had to move on somewhere else. So I think the idea of staying here for the whole 14 days, I think I can live with that. Let me tell you that one place that I was seriously considering visiting during this time out here, bear in mind this is late October now, was Nha Trang. The idea of going from Hanoi down to Nha Trang, which is Vietnam's premier beach resort. There's tons going on there. Spending maybe 5 or 6 days there, and then ended up back in Hanoi again. So Nha Trang was on the menu, but I looked into it, and apparently this time of year, end of October, is the worst time to visit Nha Trang. This is actually when they get their worst weather. They get a lot of rain there. So beach resorts are not much fun when it's raining all the time, and if it's the worst time of year, then I probably better avoid it. So yeah, I'll just stay in Hanoi for a couple of weeks. I'll relax. I've got a fairly rough and ready hotel room. It's nothing special, but it is close to a lot of the action. There's tons going on here. I mean, this setup right here, they're blocking the roads off here. There's going to be a big live band spectacle on there tonight. Big open air rock concert. So I'll be visiting that one. There's lots going on in Hanoi. There's plenty of really good nightlife here, which I've already seen. The people seem to be a friendly enough bunch, not like last time I visited. So yeah, stay here for 2 weeks. Stick with it. There's going to be some good videos coming from Hanoi on the Steady Eddie channel in the next couple of weeks. I remember once talking to a couple in Laos, and they said they were so relieved to get to Laos because it's so quiet, having spent a couple of weeks in Vietnam. Jesus, Vietnam is noisy. There's always noise going on somewhere. Hello, how are you? Okay, now what I briefly want to talk about is motorbikes, okay? Now Vietnam is famous for people on motorbikes. Currently there's about 96 million people in Vietnam, and they say that there's almost one motorbike for every 2 people, so I make that about 40-something million motorbikes in Vietnam. Now it seems like the obvious way to get around. The fact is, there's also an estimate that 1 person every hour in Vietnam gets killed in a motorbike crash. They do have a high fatality rate here, and when you see the way some of them ride, you only have to be here for a few hours and look around to see that, some of them can be fairly reckless. I seen an altercation yesterday where 2 drivers almost hit each other head on, and they were Vietnamese fellas who you would think, they're going to know these roads far better than Westerners will. So riding a motorbike in Vietnam, it's a dangerous activity. It's for people who know what they're doing, basically. It's not just, this is the way you get around, so hop on a motorbike and Bob's your uncle. Not necessarily the case. You really do need to know what you're doing in these roads. There's also something else I want to mention about that with regards to motorbikes, and that is travel insurance. Because the fact is that if you come out to Vietnam and you want to hire a motorbike, make sure that you are properly insured. Your travel insurance will cover that in case of the worst happening, in case of a serious accident. Now, I've met many people through Vietnam. When you're traveling through this country, you will often talk to other travelers, and you will hear stories about people who've been involved in motorbike accidents, have had injuries. I remember some guy telling me that his friend was currently in hospital with broken legs because of a motorbike crash. It does happen, it does happen. With regards to insurance, there was some controversy a few years back. I remember a TV interview, and this English fella, his son was involved in a motorbike accident in Vietnam. His son was travelling. Now his son was in hospital with broken legs, and various other very, very severe injuries. Now, his son had travel insurance, which of course you've got to have. Anyone's got to have travel insurance. But the fact is, the insurance company wouldn't pay out. I don't know which insurance company it was, but they wouldn't pay out because they considered riding a motorbike in Vietnam to be a dangerous activity. Now, we all know that if you're involved in any sort of extreme sports, then insurance companies won't cover you for that unless you pay, you know, a higher rate. But I remember seeing this father being interviewed on TV, and he was very, very distraught about it, because his argument was with the insurance company that his son was not involved in an extreme sport. His son was riding a motorbike in Vietnam because that's how people get around in Vietnam. The insurance company wouldn't budge. They said that it was a dangerous activity and they wouldn't pay out. And the father was having to pay a colossal amount of money. I don't know, many, many, many thousands of pounds to have his son treated in hospital in Vietnam and then have him flown home safely to the UK. So basically what I'm saying is that if you're planning on coming out to Vietnam, there is something that I've read where you may require a Vietnamese driving license in order to hire a motorbike legally out here. Check up on that one, but also check up on your insurance, because just because you've got travel insurance, you know, read the small print, it may not necessarily cover you for the eventuality of a motorbike crash in Vietnam. Please check up on that one. There's also something else that often disturbs you when I say it. I'm not going to show images of it, obviously, but you see about a family of Vietnamese on motorbikes. I've seen up to 5 or even 6, where you've got the parents and you've got the children, very, very small children. Now, you often see the parents wearing helmets, but the children are not wearing helmets. You know, so kind of disturbing in a way, really. Not disturbing, but you know, this is Vietnam. I'm going to take a picture of Doggy. Who can resist? Go there. Who can resist the picture? Come on. There we go. Hello. How are you? Hey. Oh, it's a lovely fella. Beautiful, eh? You might be a girl. You're beautiful anyway. Yeah, nice lady. Nice lady. Lovely lady. Okay, okay. What's that? I'll get some fruit some other time. No, don't say that one. I'm not actually taking photos. Go on, there we go, that looks lovely. I should eat more fruit anyway, and you're a very, very charming lady, okay? Wow, you're a strong girl. I'll leave it to you first of all. Go on, you go first. Huh? You go first. Go on, you go first. Okay. Pineapple, that cost me 25,000. That's fractionally over $1. I was probably overcharged for it. But I'm in a good mood today, and really, I need to eat more fruit. So I'm going to sit down and eat this. Probably will. Okay, so it's that time of day when I'm getting a little bit hungry. Had a little bit of food to eat, a little bit of, you know, donuts and a bit of pineapple, whatever, but not that much. It's getting late afternoon and everything looks like it's getting busier here. I suppose you could call it rush hour. Hello. What's that? I may need a couple more t-shirts, but not just yet. Not just yet.